Technology is best when it brings people together, a quote I found by Matt Mullenweg. And today we're diving into a conversation that's less about technology and more about the very human experiences of navigating change, staying relevant, and choosing connection over fear. After all, if you know anything about me, I'm all about human connection, in person, authentic, real, and often raw, believing everyone has wisdom to share and lived experience from which we can learn. My guest today is Leanne Shelton, CEO of Human Edge AI Training, global AI coach, keynote speaker, and soon to be published author of AI Human Fusion, coming out in June 2025. She's been featured in The Australian, ABC News, the CEO magazine, and countless other platforms, and she's fast becoming one of Australia's most accessible and inspiring voices in the AI education space. But here's what I love. Leanne didn't start out as a tech expert. In fact, her story starts in a very different place. Hello, Leanne.
Hi, Kerryn. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here. And, AI is fast becoming a voice for many people. And your book, which I've been able to read some of the draft, will be just such a valuable tool. But let's start at the beginning. You ran a successful SEO copywriting agency for nearly a decade. And what was happening in early 2023 that led you to pivot so dramatically into the world of AI?
Yeah, it's a great question. If you went back in time and spoke to the Leanne from 2022, I had no idea what I was about to dive into. Basically, ChatGPT came out November 2022, but with this, in Australia, we only really started hearing about it in early 2023. And my business had already started already declining a little bit with economic climate. People often undervalue copywriters, unfortunately, and what we can provide. And when, this free shiny tool entered the scene, it almost felt like my copywriting business was doomed. But what I realized was, hang on, I have some experience and expertise here in writing with words. It's been my number one passion since I was a kid. Like I wrote short stories as a child and, did freelance journalism and all the rest of it. And ChatGPT is ultimately a tool that involves words. And I thought maybe there's a way here. If people are going to use it anyway, why don't I teach them how to use it properly? And so initially I thought I'd just be like a bit of a coach or an AI editor kind of thing, like use AI, then get me on board to fix it. But what I was also seeing was everyone using it and just pumping out generic, lifeless, robotic content and thinking it was okay and not realizing, because they didn't have the marketing and copywriting experience, what damage they'd actually be doing to their brand. So I actually put on a webinar, how to use ChatGPT and still sound human. I gave myself a whole month to look into it, like what prompt engineering was, because I hadn't really delved into it up until that point. And I had 150 people tune in for the free workshop webinar. And I thought, okay, there's a need here. People want this. And then it really just started to snowball because I was already fairly active in LinkedIn, but I just started changing my message around AI and brand voice and as a copywriter, not a techie person. And people started to notice. And then, yeah, that's how I got opportunities for the Australian and ABC News and overseas workshop opportunities and all of that, just because people thought, oh, hang on, this is a non-techie person speaking our language who's not also caught up in shiny AI tools and updates, but it's actually about humans and how we should be embedded, how we should use AI as a tool in our lives, embedding our lives, not replacing ourselves. And that's a big thing that a lot of people are doing without being fully informed.
I love it. I absolutely love the fact that you have embraced the change that's out there and been able to transform your thinking to what you knew to how you could be of service and how you could contribute your skills and really be able to move forward. And I believe that all comes from having the confidence to step out of that comfort zone and be curious about what's there. I think in the life is an ever evolving thing. We can't stay stuck. We need to adapt to change. So your skills and direction sound absolutely perfect with ability to help. You now train leaders, especially those who don't identify as tech savvy, on how to use AI meaningfully. And your book, AI Human Infusion, which comes out in June, by the time this is aired, perhaps it's already on the shelves, and I'm so looking forward to getting a copy of it. What's at the heart of the book, and what are you hoping it does for your readers?
Yeah, so Kerryn, I knew I wanted to pull together an AI book right from the early days, but I was very wary about how to write it because I definitely didn't want to use AI. And I didn't want it to be something that was going to become out of date really quickly. So I didn't want it to be tool based or anything that was just going to be like for now because things are happening just so quickly. And that's what put me off a little bit until I finally had this realization, towards the end of 2024. I know what my book is. It needs to be about taking a holistic human first approach to AI. And I just wasn't seeing that anywhere in the marketplace. Like I mentioned, it was all the AI enthusiasts and experts and consultants and whatever you want to call them on LinkedIn that I follow were all just going, shiny thing, shiny thing, shiny thing, follow me for more shiny things and prompts. And I'm like, well, actually, prompts, it really should just come from the expert human speaking to a junior assistant. And the book basically covers the our human fusion habits framework, because I think we should be building positive habits right now to protect our future generations. So the habits framework includes H for humans. So the book includes talking about where the humans fit in. So human connection, which is, where I got you involved, Kerryn. Human connection, being human first, not AI first, which is a badge of honor that seems to be overseas. Where the humans fit in and getting over that overwhelm that most human leaders are experiencing right now. And then I go into the AI side, so training the tool. And a lot of people don't realize you can train generative AI. It's not like off-the-shelf software we're so used to using. We actually can make it our own through training. And that's what I teach in that section, but keeping the human in control at all times. And then I go into the business integration, so the BI, which is like the AI policy that we need to have to show transparency, so that, show we're being ethical and responsible with our usage, being aware of security aspects, IP, all that kind of stuff. So the nitty gritty, big picture, annoying stuff potentially, but so important because AI, like I said before, is going to be embedded in business processes. It will just be like the internet electricity. It's just going to be around. So we need to make sure we're being mindful of how it's all being deployed. And then we've got the TS in habits, which is for tactical strategy. So that's the next steps you actually take to bring your team on board, get rid of all their fear, stop the whole, there's people misusing it, like think they're confident, soaring above the others, but misusing it, and potentially breaches or issues being caused there, through to those who haven't even touched AI yet, and those in the middle who are just like, I cannot use it, don't know what I'm doing. And so that it covers in the strategies of just helping your team understand where they fit in. They're not being replaced, because that's a big fear that's still circulating. Give them the confidence to give AI a go, but also being sure, ensuring everyone's using it ethically, keeping the human in the loop and all that. So this book really covers that whole holistic view, not just, hey, here's Copilot, ChatGPT, go use it for productivity.
What are the biggest concerns that people are bringing to you about it? Actually, one of my members of my community yesterday was saying, now you need to speak nicely to your ChatGPT, because when they start to take over the world, they'll remember that you haven't been pleasant to them. What concerns are you hearing from people who are running a small business?
Yeah, so on that, I definitely believe in being polite, using please and thank yous. For one, I joke about it when they take over, but also we're training the tool to act and speak in a certain way and respond. And so therefore, it is a really good habit to stay in, to just be respectful, because it will then be respectful back to you. And it's been trained to provide human-like responses. So humans, we respond better to manners. So therefore, it will actually give better output too. And then there's also the point of, just as a human, just not creating those bad habits of just shouting demands at your screen, and soon voice AI will be even more dominant, and then turn to your family and friends and just accidentally just shouting, like forgetting about manners with them too. So I think for consistency, we just keep doing that. So that's the thing on saying please and thank you. But other concerns, like definitely about the being replaced thing, that is absolutely massive. The media hasn't helped with that, because that fear mongering has been continuing for way too long. And then, of course, it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy of that seed is planted. Oh, yeah, I can replace people with AI. How good's that? And they do. So I believe, just like there's job roles like, accountants. We have accounting software, QuickBooks, Xero, but we still have accountants. We still need that overarching expert to go to. Same with using Canva, but we still have graphic designers who we ultimately trust for that. And even like going to the bank, like we can do online banking, but I still want to go to a bank teller at times. So we need to see AI as being a tool that then supports the expert humans. For example, as a copywriter, I know how to use ChatGPT in a way that supports my writing, because I know what to look out for. I know what to critique. I'm not going to get it to completely replace me. I can write now a high quality article in 1 hour, 90%, 80% AI. That's from me training it and then me working with it and saying, yes, no, add this, do that. That's where the productivity comes from, not from just handing over the reins and going, do this for me. Or how good's that after 5 minutes of work? So I think that's a big thing. There's a few other concerns as well. Often it's just security. And you do need to be aware of that. There's definitely tools that you shouldn't be using or not inserting sensitive information into. There are, especially there's some Australian-based ones that I'm becoming more across. I'm going to form a partnership with one, actually. They have found a way to ensure it's all very secure, all the content you share with it, and it's not being, put into the worldwide web, online AI web, whatever, for anyone else to use. It's not trained the models. So you just be wary, look at the privacy policy, things like that. So there's a few things that people are concerned about, but the ultimate thing is to remember, you just need to keep your head on, screwed on, and you just don't use AI without second guessing it. You need to critique it. You need to be in charge of it.
Absolutely. I find it just an awesome productivity tool. And I went to a workshop last year, and the speaker was talking about that, that's what we need in Australia, that, our productivity could be increased, which would give more jobs and more economic opportunities. But we still have the ability to think and have the lived experience that we can override that with. And so I found that I've asked it on occasions. I had a 10-year birthday dinner for my community a year before last, and I asked it to give me some suggestions about how I could carry a theme through for the event to celebrate. And it was amazing what it came up with. But when I looked more deeply at it, some of them weren't practical. And I guess I use my human lived experience thinking that is awesome, but it doesn't meet my budget, or it's not going to work, or I haven't got the time to do that. But very quickly I came up with ideas that would have taken me maybe never would have even thought of. So I have enjoyed and constantly enjoy looking, but something I was looking at the other day and it was way off the mark, on what I was asking it to do. It wasn't factual. It was totally made up out of its own imagination. So
the whole productivity thing, that's very much wrapped up in AI. That's the word, right? And the problem with that is that you can easily fall into this trap of focusing on your own productivity and not think about how it's being received on the outside, like the other side, like for marketing purposes or anything like that. Or even if it's a strategy, or how good was that? But will that strategy actually work, based on your experience? And what you were saying, like I definitely, probably 80% of the time I use AI, it's as a starting point, just like that. Can you come up with some ideas for this article? Otherwise I'm thinking about it. Or what's a good outline for this article? Great, then I work on it. It's that starting point. We're otherwise looking at a blank screen for way too long or procrastinating a potentially important thing. So I've made it a goal this year to pump out a weekly article. But when I was writing the book, I didn't have the headspace to think, oh, what should I do? So knowing that I could train, like use previous workshops, keynotes, my book, everything, put it into ChatGPT and say, all right, based on what you know about me and what I stand for and all this, here's the theme I want to go for. What can you give me? And then help me draft this in my brand voice and everything. It just
Yes.
freed my brain to work on what was important, but I
Yes.
still was showing up, you know? So it's very
Yes.
important, to use it for the right reasons and critique it every time.
Absolutely. One of my concerns, because I'm all about conversation and connection, is what it's going to do. My concern for AI is, are people going to forget how to communicate, how to have a conversation? And they might be talking to their AI, but in a social, in-person sense, losing that ability to talk. And I know you've got young children, and I've got grandchildren. As a parent, what do you see as AI for your children in the future?
I mean, I've always been saying it to them because my daughters, they're 11 and 8. I've been saying, use it as a, supporting tool. Don't rely on it. I'm really like my next book, one of my next books, maybe. I plan to really go into the education space. What's going to happen with AI for primary, secondary, and tertiary education? Because right now, everyone's freaking out, just saying, just don't use AI. You'll be marked down if you use AI. But they're entering workforces where there's going to be expectations to use AI. I'm really curious to see how that evolves. I think like with my kids, if they do want to use it, I'll just say you have to then explain why you use that prompt and how you came to that conclusion. And just like maths, like when the calculator came out, now you've got to explain you're working out on paper. You can't just do it on the calculator. I think it's going to be the same sort of thing with any written stuff, that you're going to have to explain, I use this prompt and this is why, and this is how I critiqued it, and this is how I changed it, to show that critical thinking. And that's what I'll be encouraging my kids to do. I know that there's some careers that won't necessarily, you won't need to go to uni to study, because AI will just be so well trained to be able to, handle things. But like, for example, even medicine, just as one example, you're still going to have bedside manner. And to date, a lot of doctors fall in that trap of having all the knowledge, but not knowing how to connect with the people. So what I hope opportunities with AI presents is, cool, I can rely on it to an extent. It freeing me up to really focus on how to speak to people about this and put in layman's terms and nurture them and use emotional intelligence and all this kind of stuff. And also, unfortunately, people will abuse AI, and there's already deep fakes and scams happening and all that kind of stuff. We're probably going to have more in-person connections, meetings, interactions, because we won't always trust the online version of the other person. At some point, people may screw around with Zoom and put in a digital avatar of someone and pretend to be someone and ask for massive transactions, and it wasn't even them in the first place. So I hope regulations really crack down on that happening, and that just doesn't go very far. But I ironically think human relationships are going to be even more important. Even like chatbots, fine, use an AI but have that as a starting point only, to then give the transcript to a human who then calls and has a proper conversation with the person. This is how I see it all working with us. And it's just a matter of, like I said, building those positive habits and looking at AI in the right way.
A while ago, we were talking about another project that you're involved with, working with your dad. How's that coming along?
Yeah, I've got a little fun project with my dad. I've written a book, a children's book with him. Going to release that soon, actually. I'm going to just have my name as my maiden name. Oh, sorry, or my middle name, Leanne Ruth, just so it doesn't clash with AI Human Fusion for the launch. But a fun little project. I had this idea of a poem. It's called Shopping for a New Mummy. And a little poem, a little kid is upset with a mum. That's it. I'm going to the mummy shop to get to buy a new mummy. And yeah, so I've made a little rhyme, and she basically goes through 26 different mums for every letter of the alphabet. And yeah, it's really sweet. And so my dad is a retired visual arts teacher, and he's been doing a lot of art since retiring. And yeah, I gave him the challenge of the illustrations. And yeah, it's come together really nicely. It's a nice little legacy. He's been going through chemo for like the past on and off, like the last 6 years or so, 7 years. And it's something that he's just, a little passion project to leave behind for the grandkids. And we might even do another book because I had another idea come up. So I've got plenty of books in me now.
So what has been the greatest challenge for you in writing the book or the books?
So for AI Human Fusion, like the big challenge was, well, one, so I've gone with a publisher, so Major Street Publishing. And initially I almost took myself out of the whole publishing deal because I was worried about that gap between finishing the manuscript and then it hitting the shelves and being relevant and everything like that. But what I realized as I sunk myself into the book more, no, it's okay. This is actually more conceptual. This is big picture thinking. I never go into specifics with tools, and any time where there could be things that change, I've just said at time of writing and got over that. Also having ADHD, I don't really like having structure and spending too much time planning books or anything. So I had a rough chapter outline, but what I found that was when I actually started writing each individual chapter, it would kind of take on a life of its own. And I realized, hang on, no, this chapter actually has to be structured completely differently. And then that kind of happened. And even like the habits framework, it only came together 2 weeks out from deadline. It was actually in reverse rather than at the beginning. And that was thanks to me with all the business integration stuff. I initially thought that should be with the mindset stuff, but then the publisher said, actually, that probably works better towards the end. And that's then when the framework kind of came to life because the positioning worked really well. But yeah, a lot of it as well, challenges to find time to write. I tried to do that consistent write every day thing or aim for a certain amount of words a week. That didn't work for my brain. So what I just did was blocking out half a day or a full day a few times a week to just dedicate time to writing. And I did a lot, basically I wrote it, started from November, finished 10th of March. It's a quiet time in my business anyway. So I had a bit of downtime, didn't have a lot of demands. And yeah, so it worked well in that regard. And I had amazing experts that I was able to interview who are available, and people like yourself and other people just giving their thoughts, and it just all really fell into place. I feel like there was like some higher being, like not to go all woo-woo, but often I felt guided towards the right people at the right time, the right stories to kick off the chapters at the right time. It really seemed to feel like it fell into place really nicely. And yeah, when the editor, he's just finished up and he's like, this is clean, well structured, you've made my job really easy. I'm like, yes, I think this is gonna really make a difference in the world. So watch this space.
Yeah, fantastic. And I really love the fact that you drew on the relationships that you had and had conversations with people, and, you had a collaborative approach to bringing this together. So I really do believe it will create quite an impact. So big congratulations. If you lived in Melbourne and you came to one of my events, one of my pet projects during lockdown was to create a board game called Conversations Count, and you might be asked a mystery question as you went around the board. And one of the sections on the board is vision and courage. And I think that's what you've shown by taking on this project. So to take the card from vision and courage, and it's on a more personal level because there's a lifestyle version and there is a business version.
Oh, cool.
So this is the lifestyle version. Okay. My greatest fear is.
My greatest fear. I just thought fear of missing out.
I can associate with that.
I set myself a challenge many years ago to make every year different in some way. And because I guess I did have the fear of monotony of living a boring life, and I just don't think I could handle that really. Especially when I became a mum, I'm like, no, I'm always going to be more than just a mum. And so every year I've done something different, like may have learned tap dancing or pole dancing, which I can say, yeah, tick, but I'm not a good upside down person. I get dizzy. So no, but I tried it, moved on. Starting a podcast. I did that one year. Doing a membership, tried that. Writing a book, yes. I try to do that every year because I see it. My fear is to have a boring life. I want to just make sure I keep, enjoying life. I my daughters see that as well, and they want to strive and live the best possible life too. And I ultimately I try. That's probably part of the reason why I've written the book too. I really want to help other people as well see their full potential and not just, plod along and go, oh, AI is replacing me and, freak out. And I want people to see opportunities, because that's something I'm always doing. And obviously that's where this pivot kind of came from, and it's been successful, and I hope it continues to be so. Yeah, I think
that's fantastic. And it fits so well with your business name, Human Edge, because I think that's what we have as humans, the opportunity to, step out of our comfort zone and try new things. And I love that. And the tap dancing and the pole dancing, I never knew about you. So there's always more to a conversation when we get to connect with someone. So I'd like to really thank you today for your clarity and being honest and vulnerable with us, and showing people that we don't need to fear the future, that we just need to keep being curious and stay connected, and most of all, stay human and real. And how can people connect with you, and tell us a bit more about how they'll be able to access AI Human Fusion, the book?
Yeah, so I hang out mostly in LinkedIn. So just look out Leanne Shelton on LinkedIn. The website is humanedgeai.com. You'll see everything about the book there, and there'll be links to purchase and everything like that, which I'd love, of course, you all do, because I think we need to get this message out that AI is not going anywhere, but you're going to be okay. We just need to ensure we take the right approach, the human first approach.
Fantastic. And have you got a quote to leave us with?
Oh, look, my favorite quote is AI is here to enhance us, not replace us. And I think as long as you remember that, I need to get that made as a bumper sticker or something, we're going to be okay. We need to see it as a way to help us out, but the human expertise and experience is completely, that's unique. We need to hold on to that.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for your time today. I'll look forward to reading the book.
Thanks, Kerryn. Appreciate it.